Greetings! So recently there has been a talk about the so-called short map nerf being implemented, which, let's be real, is a fundamentally broken change on every level. But since that has been repeated more than enough by other players and personalities, on basically every platform, we should go deeper and discuss why exactly it is a bad idea to implement this change, even though on surface level it seems quite a good idea. Before we start, let's just get this thing out of the way. The diff spike is an issue regardless of length or object count, but for low-ranked players those rely on a raw jump aim without accuracy nor speed. Diff spike, ironically, contribute more to why certain short maps are overrated than length and object count itself. We will have to at least briefly touch upon diff spikes since, as mentioned, they contribute a lot to why short maps are perceived as far maps. It will all make sense by the end of the video, so bear with me. The main idea behind this PP update is that short maps are overrated, so let's nerf them. Of course, this is a huge blanket statement. Maps are not inherently easier just because they are short, yada yada yada. I mean, you all know, we all know this, so let's not waste time with this. The problem with extremely short maps occurs when they feature aspects those give a lot of PP, and even then the problem is only really relevant among low-ranked players. You can go on any 6-digit player's profile and their top ranks are most likely going to be short jumpy maps absolutely outside of their skill level. Low 90% chokes are not uncommon, you might even find some 80% scores here and there. Especially if their main goal in the game is to climb ranks. The retriability of these maps combined with the fact that most of the PP is given for jumps create the perfect breeding ground for low-ranked players to rank up without being able to hit a single burst, let alone being accurate. At that skill level, short PP maps are a problem, but using low object count to nerf all short maps is definitely misguided. It's like throwing out the bathwater while the baby is still in it. That probably doesn't translate well. So, why is it a problem that short maps are nerfed anyway? Even if it's bad for them whiny higher level players, low ranked players, those that are actually the majority, still benefit from it, and that's what really matters. Right, comrades? Actually, it doesn't benefit them at all, since the object count is still low on longer maps made for lower skilled players. Short maps outside their skill level will still be the main way to farm. Players at that rank need to be encouraged to master the basics. Every aspect of the basics. Basic jumping skills, basic streaming skills, basic accuracy skills, etc. These aspects cannot be introduced on maps with high object count, because at that level we can't just back 1,000 objects in a map and expect less experienced players to keep up, or choose it over a map with a more digestible length. Let me illustrate. Which one a rank 150k farmer would choose? Map A, that introduces basic concepts like triplets, 5-node bursts and some relatively tame jumps at IR 8.5. Map A is 4 minutes long and a full spread. Or
Map B, 7-star extreme extra XXX ultra jump difficulty that makes last week's 7-star extreme extra XXX jump difficulty feel like a tech map. The last 2 seconds of the map is 6 stars and the rest is just 4. How did it end up being 7 stars? We will never know. Try this map out to enlarge your PP by 85%. Download now from O's Direct.
Map B is ringtone sized. Right now, 6 digits only need to hit a couple of screen jumps by accident to get tons of PP, which makes them believe that's the way to improve. While there is a case for specializing later at higher ranks, there's absolutely no merit in neglecting the basics of different skill aspects for low-ranked players. They need to be encouraged as much as possible, since knowing the basics will allow them to play a wide variety of maps they couldn't with only their sick jump skills. On top of that, even if the PP system was perfect on higher levels and specializing was absolutely needed to stay competitive, these players would need to start from scratch if they wanted to specialize in anything other than jumps. Which they will absolutely not do, since training for weeks, even months without any visible reward is pointless to them if they can just grind out the newest jump farm map. This obviously falls apart even more if overall good players were more appreciated, but who am I kidding? Nobody cares about them unless it's someone around Cookies' level. But anyway, the lack of object count is already represented in the accuracy PP. Oh wait, this is actually very important, let me say that again. The lack of object count is already represented in the accuracy PP. This is the reason why on mid to high levels, some players find it easier to farm on longer maps with more objects than on shorter maps with less objects but more difficulty. Maps such as Honesty and Sidetrack Days are not only overrated because of the space streams, but because of their high object count as well, which is represented in the accuracy PP. The problem with accuracy PP is that it doesn't account for rhythm complexity, so the meta is getting high accuracy on maps that use the simplest patterns. This is true for both short and long maps, but they have different ways to go about it. Longer maps use 1/4 streams and bursts to increase object count. Anything more complex than that would only make it harder to get high accuracy without providing any PP bonus. OD here is tricky, since obviously higher OD means more accuracy PP, but if you can get 99.5% on OD9, but only 96% on OD10, then OD9 will be preferable. Shorter maps, on the other hand, use simple single taps with barely any 1/4 patterns, since object count is not really relevant here. The best strategy here is to minimize object count and maximize overall difficulty, since getting low unstable rate is significantly easier if you only have to press one button at a constant rate instead of two. Rhythm complexity is lacking in both cases, and at this level a lot of TV-sized maps are over or near the 500 object count, so the nerf would be pretty insignificant besides a few outstanding examples. At best, long maps would get an edge over short maps, even though longer maps use easier patterns than their short counterparts. The only difference is that longer maps use a lot of them, so the difference between difficulties is compensated by the accuracy PP due to the object count. The change doesn't add another way to farm, which is what we need the most right now. Besides, mappers can easily increase the object count by using less sliders and more nodes. It doesn't really matter if Naruto level 69 gets 88% due to the free 300s on sliders, or 85% due to object bloating. The vast majority of PP would come from jumps anyway. Anyhow, these metas are for mid to high level players. Low level players are simply not accurate enough to use either of these. Maps they could hack just simply don't give enough PP to be competitive against high star rating maps with difficulty spikes. With the short map nerf, maps at their level will be nerfed even more, since obviously easier maps have less object count. So they will absolutely ignore accuracy and seek out the high star rating maps even more, because those have only been nerfed a little bit. This is exactly what I was talking about at the very beginning of the video. So what should be done instead? The problem is that low ranked players farm short maps, those are supposed to be farm maps for higher level players. Should these maps be farm maps to begin with? We can talk about that in another video, but right now, it's not relevant. What is relevant is that low-level players need to play maps designed for low-level players, and not maps designed for higher-ranked players. We can do that by introducing diminishing returns if there is only one aspect that gives the majority of the PP. So for example, if xxx_420 lollylover_xxx gets a play that awards 200 jump PP, 15 speed PP, and 0 accuracy PP, then he shouldn't get the full amount of overall PP, because he can execute 200 PP worth of jumps only when he isolates it from every other aspect. If xxx_420 lollylover_xxx makes a play that is 200 jump PP, 100 speed PP, and 100 accuracy PP, then he should get the full amount of overall PP because he demonstrated that he can execute 200 PP worth of jumps, even when other aspects are significantly present in the play. This is just the concept, so we can play around with the numbers as we like it. The PP distribution among jumps, speed, and accuracy is not really one-to-one. On top of that, the biggest issue is with jump aim, followed by speed on higher levels due to space streams counting towards speed instead of aim. So when tweaking the numbers, we should keep that in mind. Also, these ideas need to be programmed into the system, which is infinitely harder than coming up with the concept. The 500 object update is fairly easy compared to my proposal, but it doesn't really have enough benefits to outweigh the problems it causes. I only hope to provide an alternative since I'm so critical with the idea that is about to be pushed forward, and perhaps with enough revision and fine-tuning, this alternative could be implemented into the system somehow. even if it is never implemented. As long as this short map nerf update is delayed, or better yet, completely scrapped, this effort had not been in vain. But since I'm somehow expected to give solid numbers, let's just provide a basic direction that can be worked upon by others. Let's say, if the combined speed and accuracy PP doesn't reach half of the jump PP, the overall PP will start getting nerfed in a similar fashion as the short maps would, under 500 objects. The current nerf at 100 objects would be the same amount if the map had 10% combined speed and accuracy PP compared to the overall PP. This would pretty much solve the low rank, low accuracy short map high star rating farming issue without affecting the high levels too much. As I said, these numbers are definitely not absolute, so feel free to test it and change it. But the base concept is far superior than a simple object count nerf or buff. Even though I would benefit from this 500 object update, I think the integrity of the PP system is much more important than having a slightly higher rank without actually having the necessary skills. So what do you guys think? Are you against the short map nerf? Do you think you could improve on my proposal? Let me know down in the comments. I'm sure you do.